Our chest supported wide dumbbell row is a great strength move for isolating those muscles in the upper back. For this one, you're going to want a bench for this exercise. You can use a Reebok bench like we like to use here that is adjustable. Otherwise, you can use any bench in the gym that you can adjust up. We're going to put our Reebok bench at our setting number 1. That is just a little bit below 45 degrees. If you're not using a Reebok bench, it may not be setting number 1, but you want to try to find an angle that is just below 45 degrees. That way we are working a little bit more of that mid-upper back, not so much up here by the traps. That is another variation of this exercise where we do a little bit more of an incline to change the focus. So for this one, just below 45 degrees. You're going to set those weights down on the floor. We're going to come down facing the bench. We're going to lean down against that bench to where the chest is staying supported on the bench throughout this entire movement. We're going to grab those weights, and then remember for that wide row, instead of those elbows staying close into the body and those palms facing each other like we would for a normal chest-supported row here, we're going to rotate those palms to where they're facing behind us, and we're going to flare those elbows out so they're staying up in line with my shoulders instead of being back at the sides. This is typically a little bit tougher, so you're going to want a lighter weight on these than you would normally do for a regular row. You're also going to want a lighter weight on these than you normally would do for a standing wide bent over row. So this is an exercise you're going to want to start very light because it really isolates those muscles in the back. So we're going to grab those weights. Elbows are going to stay flared out as we pull those elbows up as high as we can, squeeze at the top, and then control them all the way back down, getting that stretch in the upper back down at the bottom. Again, pulling up nice and high, squeezing, controlling those weights back down to the floor on each of those reps. A couple really common mistakes made on this one. Number 1, not keeping the chest down against that bench. So it's really easy if you have too heavy of a weight or if you're starting to tire out. It's really easy to kind of rock back like this and get momentum to get those weights up. Try to keep that whole torso very stationary and against that bench so that you're isolating the muscles in the upper back. You may have to drop down in weight, but that's okay. You'll get better results from this exercise because you'll actually be working those muscles that we're trying to focus on for this one. Another really common mistake made on this one is not getting those elbows flared out and staying up at shoulder height like this. Instead, trying to come back more here for this wide row. This is specifically focusing on keeping those elbows high and up here at about shoulder height to isolate a little bit more up in between the shoulder blades instead of that lower mid back for this movement. So really focus on keeping them high. Last thing to remember, those wrists are staying relaxed underneath of those elbows. We're simply focusing on keeping those elbows up as we pull up and squeeze. We are not curling with the wrists on this one. We're not curling with the biceps. So wrists are staying relaxed. Just think about somebody grabbing those elbows and pulling those elbows up to squeeze the shoulder blades at the top. So remember, just below 45 for that bench. Keep the chest against that bench the entire time. Keep the elbows flared out nice and wide. Wrists nice and relaxed for this movement and start off light. Get comfortable with getting your correct form on all of those things before progressing up in weight for this one.